and start streaming. Lovely. Welcome to High Level Games presents Star Trek Adventures, where we can watch to High Level. Every time I do that, where we can watch the crew of the USS Bonaventure, the Excelsior class starship NCC 2835, in its ongoing voyages and adventures. I guess it's a 5-year mission, technically. I'm VP Quinn. I'll be your game master today. Why don't you guys introduce you?
I'm Vanessa. I have enslaved cookies before, and I'm playing Dr. Basidum.
I'm Michael. I am fundamentally against enslaving cookies and have not done so myself, and I will be playing Captain Celis Argel.
Can't hear you.
Hush you. I am Jake. I am playing for Commander and First Officer Kieran Hex, and I have committed genocide of many a cookie.
I'm Tim. I play Lieutenant Commander Marcus Barton, and I have enjoyed the massacre of several cookies.
Great. All right. So basically, we're going to get into it today. So I don't know if anybody will hear this, but I've run into a problem with streaming concurrently to both Twitch and Facebook, in that I can do one or the other, and I can't figure out how to do both at the same time. So we'll see how this plays out. I'm going to try to figure this out because there's got to be a way. But in the meantime, we're just streaming live on Twitch, but we'll see how it plays. When last we left our intrepid heroes, you had the holodeck death match with Lieutenant Commander Marcus Barton winning and gaining some affection from Xandra Thor's daughter, but was more surprised by it than anything else. Following that, you each had a scene with one of your subordinates, which we played out, and today we'll go into the episode proper. So after the holodeck deathmatch and all of these things, where is the captain?
Here we go. The captain is still in his ready room, kind of going through reports and crew rosters and kind of inane administrative tasks.
Okay. So while you're in the ready room, who's in command on the bridge?
That would be Commander Kieran Hex.
Okay, so it's his duty shift. You're nearby doing paperwork. Because everything that we've seen about Captain Celis is a little bit of a workaholic. But everything we've seen about literally every Federation captain has been pretty much the same. So it is what it is. So Commander Kieran Hex, you're on the bridge when orbiting Castoria, just routine orbit as you're kind of deciding what the next step is for the Bonaventure when a message comes in from Castoria High Command.
On screen.
On screen is Liaison Jazzo. You might remember him from the first episode. He is a Castorian political scientist and teacher. As a Castorian, he has kind of a snake-like Euphidian skin and he's very tall and thin, and he has kind of a tight-fitting outfit on. He's older, and you can see the marks of his age on his skin. He is got greenish skin, and he speaks raspily. So far, he has been a big ally and proponent of Federation membership. He seems deeply committed to the process. He is a veteran, however, of the Tyneridea wars, so he does have that.
Mm-hmm.
Commander.
Liaison Jazu, what can we do for you?
Our sensors have picked up something troubling, and I'm hoping that you can check it out for us.
We might be able to do that. Describe to me what you've been picking up.
Outside of our system, a deep space probe has picked up an incredibly large starship that has just appeared on our sensors out of nowhere, possibly given the neutrino burst that announced its arrival through some kind of a wormhole. And it is set course for the Castorian system at extreme high warp.
Well, that is interesting news indeed.
We'd very much like you to intercept and make sure that this is not a threat to the system. And I would like to beam aboard as a, what do you call it? As an observer.
And out of character, that's totally fine for him to be there, right, as a representative.
Yeah, he's essentially an ambassador.
That's kind of what I thought. You are welcome to beam aboard. We will we'll locate this starship and proceed to intercept.
Thank you. And the screen goes back to a view of Castoria, the beautiful planet beneath you. What are you going to do?
Commander Hex to Captain Argel.
Commander?
Just received a communique from Liaison Jazu regarding something they picked up on long-range sensors. It appears to be a large ship of some sort that has just arrived and is making its way towards the Castorian system. They asked that we determine what this ship is and what their intentions are.
Is there an estimated time of arrival in their system?
I have not yet located it on the sensors. I just got off the communicator with Jazu and wanted to let you know. I'll get down to locating it now.
Okay. So at this point, calling all senior staff to the bridge.
Okay.
Roger.
So all senior staff is going to their duty stations and or bridge, because I'm assuming you'd want David to go to engineering.
Yeah, that would be preferable.
Okay.
And while everyone's making their way to the bridge, I would order Falk to locate this on our sensors. I'm assuming our sensors would be able to pick it up from where we are.
Yeah, Falk can certainly try that out. To do this at kind of long-range sensors, Falk would have to roll a reason plus science test, assisted by the Bonaventure's sensors plus science.
Okay. So there's
2 successes.
Falk, and then
Sorry, this was a difficulty 2.
that's the Bonaventure.
Ooh.
That is a complication. Would you like to spend to get rid of that complication? You do not have currently any motivation momentum. You don't have any motivation.
I have no motivation either. I don't want to do this.
You don't have any momentum, but you can add threat.
No, I've earned 1 momentum from this roll. I'm going to keep that.
Okay.
It's a sensor roll. Spend it for something good.
Mm-hmm. Well, plus we don't have enough. Yeah, I don't want to add threat just to.
Okay, so you certainly get a lock on it. Fok reports, yes, Commander, I have it on sensors. It is moving very quickly, and it is incredibly large. It's moving almost warp 9.99. This is nearly transwarp speeds. On an intercept course to this system, it will be here within a half an hour.
Captain, you may want to hurry up to the bridge. I'm setting a course for intercept.
Okay. The complication that you have in play, a good complication right now.
We ran out of beer on the ship.
Oh, it's just cruel. I'm going to say that there is currently, as you're calling for warp power, there is currently a problem with the warp manifolds, and it's going to cost power to go to warp right now. So your cruising speed at warp is warp 7, which would cost 1 power, and every warp above that will cost an additional power.
And also, before we take off, Yazoo is aboard. Yeah, that's just instantaneous.
Yes, he came up right away.
I figured that it wasn't like, all right, I'll go gather my things and I'll be there in half an hour.
No.
Okay. That's set intercept at warp 7.
Okay. So that costs 1 power. You have a total of 17 power, so your power has dropped from 17 to 60.
Okay.
Okay. You hit warp 7, make an intercept course, and are heading there very quickly. At this point, everybody's kind of arriving at the bridge. Did you send anybody to meet Jazzo?
I was.
If not, there'll be a security officer that will automatically be there. But
that's what I would have done. He requested to come aboard of his own volition, so.
Right. I would be there just to make sure that he's not bringing any contaminations on board.
You don't know he's coming on board. You're just called to the bridge.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I come to the bridge.
Uh-oh, there's possible contamination on board. Doctor, what are you going to do?
It's not like in episode 2 there was a contagion that broke out on board or anything.
Yeah, this is not helping my fears. The fact that they were realized so soon.
All right, so eventually everyone gets to the bridge. Captain, you're hurtling towards this area. Fok, as you're going closer to this area, says, Captain, it is incredibly large. This craft, if it is a craft, is approximately 85 kilometers in length.
Wow.
Are we able to get any kind of tactical analysis at this distance?
We can't tell anything other than it's giving off a significant amount of energy, which is to be expected at the speeds that it's moving and the size that it is.
Very well.
I just want to know what shape it is.
It is cigar-shaped.
Is it the same shape or the same size as the ship that we helped earlier?
The Lethian colony ship? No.
Yeah. Okay.
The Lethian colony ship was significantly smaller than this.
Okay.
And that was a huge ship. But it was specifically designed to be modular and break apart when they got there and stuff. This ship, you have no idea. And it's the Lethian colony ship. I want to say that it was like kilometer or 2 kilometers long or something, which is
gee.
enormous. This is 85 kilometers long.
Well, alrighty then.
So you are hurtling towards this. When you come within visual range, you do get it up on the screen. And that is what you see.
All right.
Whoa.
As soon as you come within a medium range to it, it comes to an abrupt stop.
Interesting.
Tactical analysis. Is Ethrasi present? If not, who's on tactical?
Ethrasi is certainly present. You called senior staff to the crew, or to the thing. Ethrasi has never seen anything like this. We could do a sensor scan up close to it. We're medium range away. The amount of detail we get is directly proportional to the distance we are to it.
Okay.
Might it be prudent to open a hailing frequency, see if we can communicate with it? It clearly knows we're here.
So let's hold our position for now. One, like to open a general hail, and two, at the same time, like to do a medium range scan to kind of get a better sense of.
So you guys kind of come to a full stop at medium range. You're going to do a scan and then follow up with a hail, or a hail then followed up with a scan.
Let's go scan then hail.
Okay. So it came to a full stop. You came to a full stop, and then you're going to do a scan. Who is going to complete this scan?
Kieran?
All right, on it.
Okay, so this is a reason plus science. Or no, you want a tactical scan, don't you? So this is a reason plus security.
Yes. Okay.
And it can be assisted with sensors plus security.
Roger that.
No successes?
I believe that's one success. A 7 should be a success.
Sensors plus security is 12 for the Bonaventure. So yeah, you have one success out of 7. What you can tell right now is basically what you could tell before.
That it's 85 kilometers long.
85 kilometers long. It's giving off an incredible amount of energy, and that you essentially don't know what it is.
Scans aren't picking up anything other than what we already know, Captain.
At this range, also, they don't sense any life signs.
But we're not picking up any life signs. That doesn't necessarily mean there aren't any, though. Nobody's, yeah.
And though our scans are inconclusive, are we able to cross-reference what we're seeing against the Starfleet database?
Yeah, certainly somebody can do that.
Okay. Probably should be me.
Okay.
Go ahead, Commander.
So that will be a let's see, an insight plus science roll.
Hey, a role I'm actually good at.
Assisted by computers plus science. There's 2 successes and another success. So yes, this is a difficulty 3 task. This has a craft very much like this, but slightly smaller, has been seen almost a century ago entering the Alpha Quadrant, where it was making its way towards Earth. It was speculated to be some kind of a probe at that time. This necessitated the crew of the USS Enterprise NCC 1701A, or no, I guess it wasn't even the A at that time, to commandeer a Klingon bird of prey and break the temporal prime directive to go back in time to find 2 whales and bring them back forward in time, because the probe was looking for some kind of whale song to respond to its hails. And when it wasn't hearing it, it was unleashing incredibly destructive energies that Earth had no defense against whatsoever. Once they brought the whales back forward in time and they heard the whale song, 2 humpback whales, I think Frank and Gracie, the probe just left.
That's an interesting bit of history.
At that time, scans were not able to pick up very much of anything, because any major technological system that came near to it was shut down by the power of that probe. And furthermore, it was so astronomically more powerful than anything that they had encountered before that they had no defenses just to placate it.
So I'll relay that information to the captain. If this craft is a similar one to the one seen 100 years ago, we may have an issue.
We may need to hail by whale.
So let's go ahead and open a hailing frequency.
All right. Hailing frequencies are open, Captain.
Okay. Greetings, this is Captain Salos Argel of the Federation starship Bonaventure. To whom are we speaking?
You get a humming rhythmic sound back through the hail, but nothing else.
A humming rhythmic sound.
Yes, which is the exact sound that was being received through hails previous to the probe going active and releasing a version of whales when the last incident occurred.
Do we have any digital copies of whale song that we could play?
Of course, database has tons.
To begin with, there's no evidence that they're responding in any other way than with this whale song.
That's right.
Okay.
But there did seem to be some communication of some type between the humpback whales and the probe.
So, looking back on our database, were scientists ever able to do any kind of analysis as to what the probe may have been saying to the whales or the whales to the probe?
It has vexed the universal translators and the best linguists of the Federation. They know the sounds that were made, and they have some sense that there was a call and response a few times back and forth, but they have no idea what was said. They've never been able to achieve communications with whales except through mind meld.
Does anyone speak whale?
Dory can speak whale.
I was about to say, if we had Dory with us, this would just all solve all of our problems.
Maybe we should ask Mr. Jazoo if there are any
Jazzo,
extinct
by the way.
Jazzo, if there are any extinct subaquatic life forms that have gone extinct in the past.
Or if there's any
century.
whales there now.
It might be worth consulting, Captain.
So, liaison Jazoo.
Jazzo.
Jazzo.
I started that. That was my bad.
And then we want to maybe provide a brief rundown of humpback whales on the view screen to inquire as to whether or not his planet ever had a similar species.
He does say, well, yes, in the past, in the far distant past, we did have whales. The last of them went extinct 50 years ago during nuclear exchanges. Tyneridea. We have very few oceans on my planet.
Well, if history is going to play out like it did 100 years ago, we may have a problem.
Are we absolutely sure that it's going to Castoria?
Based on all the information that we have available at this time, prior to its dead stop, it was heading to Castoria at near impossible speeds.
It was headed to our system. Our system is a twin planetary system. There is also Tyneridea, or Tyneridea.
So at this time, we wouldn't have evidence as to where specifically in the system they were headed?
No, it was generally headed towards that system.
Okay.
I would advise that we plan our course of action as if it were headed to Castoria, Captain.
Well, regardless, the Tyneridea would be in danger were it headed to their planet. And
yes,
we would not want any harm to come to their people.
Agreed.
Is there any evidence that it's interfering with electrical systems as did the probe in the past?
You've not experienced any problems except for the power manifold issue that David reported. And that started before you came into place.
Likely unrelated.
Probably related to that communication, or the sensor array that we tried to do.
Hmm. Well,
were there any species of whales on Tyneridea?
Tyneridea is a Tyneridea is a mostly water or amphibian world, right? It's got it's a Class M planet with 2 times Earth gravity. It's got about the same percentage of land to water as Earth, but what land there is swampy with heavily stunted vegetation. There's massive fisheries and patek farms, which is a kelp-like plant that covers the oceans. Communities are typically half submerged and can be moved if necessary. The planet can seem very sparsely populated because the population is spread over the entire surface of the planet because they use the oceans just as much as they use the land. But they do have cetacean species, tons of them.
Jazzo, is there any similarity? Did your people ever have any scientific communication to determine any similarities between the species on your planet and the species on Tyneridea?
I am the wrong person to ask about that. I'm a political scientist.
That's fair. That's fair.
So at this point, making an inference back to the previous encounter with this probe, and knowing that it was only stopped by the arrival of humpback whales, Kieran, could you consult the database as to the current status of humpback whales on Earth?
Sure. I can do that.
Yeah, this is a level 0 task. You can do a reason plus science roll.
Man, why can't I do insight plus science?
And the Bonaventure can assist with computers plus science. 2 successes and a 3rd success. So your not motivation, momentum increases by 3. You now have 4 momentum. And I've added 2 threat with the arrival of this, so you're up to, or I've added 3 threat for the arrival of this, so you're at 3 threat right now. Yeah, so there is a thriving population of humpback whales on.
Okay.
All descended from Frank and Gracie.
Speaking to the entire bridge crew, knowing that the previous, currently the probe is halted. But knowing that the previous probe was only stopped by the arrival of humpback whales on Earth, I feel that it would be prudent for us to relay a message back to Starfleet Command, acknowledging that any ship would take weeks and weeks to arrive, requesting 2 humpback whales.
All right.
It's quite the requisition form. What do you need? Ooh, paper clips, 2 humpback whales, extra tablets.
Just so you're clear, a subspace transmission from here to Earth will take about 2 weeks. And it's a 2-month journey. Get back here.
Also, this thing is minutes from Castoria, and correct me if I'm wrong, but our max warp speed, isn't that like 9.7?
Yours maximum warp speed is above 9. I think it's like 9.3 for an Excelsior class. Typically, your ship is like the bomb when it comes to engines. So yeah, it's probably up around 9.7.
But regardless, this thing's faster than we are, so once we depart, we'll make it to Castoria before we do.
If it continues at that speed, you're right.
If it continues at that speed, it will beat us back.
So, regardless of the course of action that we take in the coming minutes, I feel that it would be important to relay this information to Starfleet Command and make that request for those whales.
No problem. They send one of the bridge crew sends a priority command status, and as protocol dictates, also informs Starbase 173 and Narendra Station of the situation as well. Even though they're days from helping as well, but.
All right.
I also feel that it would be prudent to request that Starbase 117 dispatch the Louis Real to Castoria, anticipating that this vessel isn't going to stay stopped.
They are happy to oblige. And they say that the Louis Real will make all due haste towards you.
Very
That'll
well.
be, 2.5 days to get there.
I have a question.
Yeah.
We know that this probe basically cut a swath all the way to Earth.
Mhm.
Nothing could withstand it.
That's right.
Why is this one stopped?
Great question. There has been some speculation that probe was damaged. There is some reporting that probe was encountered at another time later, and that its databanks contained information that while traveling through the Delta Quadrant was attacked by robotic little creatures in cubed ships. And that encounter may have damaged it, and so it wasn't acting completely rationally. Maybe this one is.
Is this probe transmitting anything? Do we know?
Yeah, is anything coming off of it?
No, not really. I mean, it's giving a general kind of response to any kind of communication attempt. So, like, occasionally there are, like, subspace buoys and deep space probes that are kind of out here occasionally, and whenever one is coming into range, it just automatically communicates its presence with a subspace ping, and then it's giving that same thing back to it that it gave to you.
Okay. Can we? So the energy, the what was it? What did you call it that it transmitted to us?
The energy?
What did it? What you was it? There was a melody.
Like a rhythmic humming.
That.
And yes. And
can we get a sample of that and begin to work on trying to decode or figure it out, cross-reference it with any other music, sounds in Earth, nature, other,
try to translate it?
Yeah. What would it sound like underwater?
Ooh.
Yeah. So you guys have not chosen what your modular laboratory is going to be for this session?
We like to wait until we know what the problem is, and then we assign it to the problem.
Yeah. I've been making you choose before you know the problem, and it's not been super effective. But I felt like I would let you know about it first.
Yeah, we probably should remember that.
So what would you like your modular laboratory to set up to do?
House aquatic life.
Okay.
I'm more thinking some sort of science facility. I don't know.
That can also house aquatic
life.
Okay. I mean, you have a crew of like 400, 450 people. So there are like biologists on board that can staff and run a biology lab of some type.
Let's do that.
I feel like it would be reasonable for us to maybe have left with some kind of generalist biology lab. Maybe slightly less reasonable for us to have left with a whale lab.
That's
Actually,
fair.
I think in these laboratories there just happen to be 2 humpback whales that we requisitioned weeks
weird.
ago.
Did we not tell you that we've been hauling them around for some time?
We've prepared this.
Yeah.
We stuck them in our spare shuttle bay.
With anesthetizing gas, you can get all sorts of whales.
Well, and we don't know if the ship is actually going to Castore or not. So.
And at this point, I would suggest, without any further information, we just begin making our way back to Castoria. I mean, what do you think?
I'd like for us, given that the ship has come to a dead stop, and only came to a dead stop when we arrived, I feel that it would be prudent for us to remain where we are, not wanting to provoke it into reacting or resuming its course.
That's fair. Is there anything we can learn from the ship while we're here?
You've learned all you can learn at this range.
Could we,
Probes?
acknowledging that there may be some danger associated with getting closer, shoot some probes at this thing.
Shoot some probes at
How
it.
about launch probes towards it, not shoot at it?
Shooting probes only.
The captain gave a very specific order. I think we need to follow it to the letter.
Yes.
Yeah, you can certainly launch probes. Let's see. Yep, you can certainly launch a probe, and it costs no power, so you can fire a probe towards it or at it, whichever you prefer.
Let's launch a probe to maybe around it, to orbit it.
Okay. So you launch a probe. The probe moves up and gets right close to it. From there, you can now use the probe as the center for any kind of sensor work that you want.
So now that the probe is closer, how about we initiate a scan?
I think so.
Okay. So yeah, you can now scan it from a distance of close. And who is going to undertake that scan?
I think that would be me, unfortunately.
Okay. This will be a
Go ahead.
difficulty 2 task. And you can use your insight plus science, and assisted by sensors plus science.
There's not like plants running the ship, is there? Because if so, I totally have a focus with botany.
Well, you don't know yet.
Therefore, I can apply it, is what I'm hearing.
3 successes.
Nice.
Well done. And an additional success. So that maxes you out at momentum 6 for the group. And the information you get back is that you do pick up life signs in the deep interior of the ship, several of them, probably close to 100. The life signs are cetacean in form, so whale-like. And it's massive. Outside of the deep core where these life forms are, there is vast areas where you can, that have a habitable, breathable atmosphere, temperature is appropriate for human life, that sort of thing. And the life forms themselves seem to not be very active.
All right. So I'll relay that information to the captain.
Now, the information indicating that the life forms aren't very active, would that suggest that they're in some kind of hibernation, Doctor?
Can I use any of my knowledge for this?
Sure. You can make a insight plus medicine check.
All right. Shall do that.
Two successes. So yes, this could be a form of stasis or hibernation. It's not a full stasis because you're still reading some activity, but certainly it is a low level of activity compared to what you would expect from a seafaring species or a spacefaring species. So they might be in some kind of stasis or hibernation.
So yeah, I relay from the movement that I see, they could be in some sort of stasis or hibernation, but they wouldn't be completely out. They still have some movement, but not as much as you would expect.
Very well. And perhaps Kirid, what might we make an inference then that this ship is in some ways automated?
That would be my idea as well.
Okay.
But what those protocols are and when they'll dictate for it to move on,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Still feel like it would be prudent to stay put for now, and learn as much as we can, hopefully with it not moving.
Would it be wise to transmit the information we know thus far to Castoria? Or do you think that might cause it? Well, no. To get some of the biologists on the planet, especially who specialize in whales or other cetaceous creatures, it might be good to have their advice.
That I feel would be wise.
Jazzo says, we can certainly send that information along. Keep in mind, however, that there is not a plethora of marine life on Castoria, and so the scientists we have on board might be more able to deal with this.
Understood. It'd just be good to have some reference for your native fauna.
Absolutely. And he gives he then recommends that you inform the Castorian Science Council.
Let's go ahead and do that.
Perfect.
Captain,
Now-
if I may be so bold,
Go ahead.
The commander did indicate that there was definitely a place where it would be okay for us to be on board on their ship. Would a possibility of an away team be something in the cards?
Let's take that under consideration.
I would recommend against until we establish communication. Even if we're able to transmit people on board, they might perceive it as an attack.
So
until we reach contact.
Perhaps, Doctor, you can begin examining what type of equipment might be needed for an away mission, and to begin that process, and whether or not we take that course of action remains to be seen.
Very well. I'll make sure to gather various equipment and.
Now, in terms of the crew roster, there are 400 officers and crew on the Bonaventure. Do we have a linguist anywhere? Do we have one of those?
Probably. Yeah. That being said, I wonder at the ability of exolinguists in the Federation, that given the prevalence of a universal translator. So possibly, but there's not a lot of call for it. So chances are there might be a specialist, but it just as easily could hand it off to somebody that's going to be able to work with the universal translator and try to come up with an answer.
Fair enough. So I ask because it seems like the next course of action would be to continue to try and establish communication. We know in the past that snippets of whale song, I presume .wave files, were played at the ship and evoked a response. And I feel that perhaps a linguist or someone with similar training could help us give intelligent self-direction as to where to start.
Sure.
And another idea might be to repeat the exact same rhythmic sound that it sent to us back to it. I know that when, often repeating words and phrases with a language you don't know is a way to establish communication.
Let's go ahead and do that.
So you are broadcasting snippets of whale song at it, while somebody is going to start working on establishing communication and breaking down its syntax and stuff.
Or at least to observe our attempts to help gain a working theory or maybe insight that we may lack.
All right. Who are you going to assign to that work?
Who would be... I'm not sure who would be most appropriate in this case.
I'll say you have a linguist on board, and so whoever you assign as the research lead can be assisted by adding a single dice to their rolls. But you should probably choose from one of the characters and NPCs.
Okay. Crew recommendation, as I quickly breeze through our science complement here. Well, not quite a linguist, but Dr. Zick is trained in exobotany. It's a useful skill as any.
Yeah, Dr. Zick can work with the linguist and the universal translator to try to work through this. This will be a workflow task.
Okay. So let's assign Zick to this task.
Okay.
Okay. So as we're playing these snippets of whale song back, is there any evidence that there are changes in what's occurring?
There's no evidence of that happening, but what does, there's no evidence of like a response. But what your sensors do bring up from the probe is, as soon as you start doing that, there starts to be a rise in internal power levels inside the craft, and it is slowly increasing. But beyond that, you would need a full analysis of that to.
I mean, this could be waking up whoever is in stasis or hibernation. This could be powering up to warp. This could be powering up weapons, for all we know.
Could be awakening its crew from seeming hibernation.
Do you want to do a detailed sweep of that?
Yeah.
Power levels.
Go ahead and.
Reason and science, Quinn?
This will be an insight and science.
Oh, thank goodness.
And assisted, of course, by sensors and science.
I need to be more insightful than reasonable.
Ooh.
Natural 20. And no successes. You do have a complication on the scene. Would you like to spend
with the
any momentum?
I think spending 2 momentum in this case is probably... We have 6 to avoid the complication. All right, yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so you're now down to 4 momentum. Basically, doing that sensor sweep and that analysis, what you've discovered is that unless you get very close, closer than your probe, so that's probably inside, you're not going to be able to figure this out.
Okay. Yeah, no good, Captain. We can't determine what they're doing. The ship's just too large.
Okay. Recommendations, crew?
Perhaps we just try and increase the strength of our communique, see if that increases the power exponentially. Maybe it's, I don't know. Try something different, right? Before we go on board.
There's evidence that there's a power level increasing with the playback that we're giving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I, at this point, see nothing wrong with continuing playback and waiting for several hours. Crew?
I'd second the watch and wait.
Okay. So as you guys are continuing to do this and the power levels do seem to be increasing slowly, we need Zick to make her first roll on this project.
Okay.
Now, first we need at least 3 theories.
Theory 1.
Mm-hmm.
This is some kind of colony ship.
Okay.
That is
theories about the language. This is strictly about communication. That's the task you've set before.
Yes. Right. Team?
It is a tone-based language, so that differences in pitch and key produce differences in meaning.
Okay. Tone-based language. Okay.
Yeah.
What else?
It's language that isn't communicated just in the audio signals, but there's some other energy that we may not be able to pick up that's passing information.
Non-audio energy. Okay. What else you got? Don't all speak at once. I can only hear one person at a time.
Okay. That the melodies themselves are kind of like stories rather than like word for word translations.
Darmok and Jalad to
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I'm going to put Darmok as the third theory. Okay, you only need 3. You don't have to add any more if you don't want to. If one of these is the correct theory, you can find out which is the first one that you'd like to begin researching.
Are you supposed to tell us if one of them is true or not?
Yes, and if
first. Yes.
So if one of them is correct,
then we can start.
Rolling. If they're incorrect, another time length passes, and we have to come
and we have to pick out new theories.
All of these are incorrect.
Shit.
Which either means that 2 hours go by, one period of time, or if you spend a point of momentum, 1 hour goes by before you realize.
Probably wouldn't hurt to spend a point of momentum.
Okay,
we have enough.
Down to 3 momentum. That means you need 3 more theories.
There's no way we can communicate. It has to be another whale species that can do it.
Must be.
We're out of luck.
Whale species. Okay.
Yeah. We know that communication has been established through mind melds in the past. So
maybe telepathic,
or that we're unable to establish communication without sending like Ithrasi over to go mind meld with it or one of their crew members.
Well, Ithrasi's Ithrasi's the blue skin. What do they call?
Andorian.
Andorian, yeah. Fok is a Vulcan, and your first officer is a Betazoid.
Yeah, we do have a Betazoid on board.
And that was something I was going to ask. Can I feel anything particular? You know, are my empathic senses tingling?
Not right now. Not right now.
I realize it's a proximity thing, but just if this thing's emitting, it can emit vast amounts of energy.
We do have evidence in the canon of like Deanna Troi sensing emotions from like vast distances away, but in this particular case, either because they're too far away or shielding, or they're just not awake yet, or whatever, there's nothing. But telepathic communication only is the second theory. And third theory.
Okay, this might be a stretch, but we're trying to interpret something as communication that's actually not. It could be some form of sensor reading. It could be something completely not communication, but that we're trying to interpret as.
It's not actually communication. Okay.
No.
So you have your 3 theories. Do you want to add more, or are you happy with these 3?
I'd love to add more if I could think of any.
Vanessa, your mic is off. I saw your... You're just making
Mike is
faces.
still off.
I know my clicking. Okay. You have to add one more. I just don't know what that is just now.
You don't have to add another one.
No, because then if none of these are it, again, kick in the butt. You know what? I can't think of anything.
Well, maybe it's looking for a specific password. It's like a call and response, looking for a very specific response.
Password. Okay. Now, in that first hour, though, there is an event that occurs. You do, on long-range sensors, pick up an incoming D12 class Klingon bird of prey coming from Tyneridea towards your location at high warp.
Ooh, it's probably bringing whales.
That can't be good.
Now, Ithrasi will immediately remind you that the Tyneridea base fleet is made up of 3 Klingon surplus birds of prey.
Mm-hmm. Likely they have detected this ship and are coming out to investigate.
Yeah.
Can we open a channel?
Yeah, you certainly can. It's going to be here in minutes, so...
Okay. So, greetings, unidentified D12 class bird of prey. Sorry, as an aside, isn't the D12 a battle cruiser, not a bird of prey?
The bird... I think they're both considered birds of prey.
Okay.
I mean, there might be a canon geek out there that can correct me on that, but I think that they're both the D7 and the D12 are both considered birds of prey, but I think the D12 is also a battle cruiser.
Yeah, I'm confusing the D12 with the D7, which is not considered a bird of prey.
Oh,
I don't
interesting.
think.
So you do get a response to your hail. A Tyneridea person appears in his military uniform, bluish gray skin. They're short and stocky people. This is scowling into the view screen, and there is another Tyneridea behind him in long, dark robes covering his face with very intricate designs in silver all over these black robes that he's wearing. And he says, "Hello, I am General Vlosag, commander of the Immeasurable."
Greetings, Commander. This is Captain Celis Argel of the Federation starship
I know who
Bonaventure.
you are. What are you doing?
We are here examining this spacecraft and attempting to establish communication.
You are relieved. We will now take over this operation.
Respectfully, this is neutral space, and our intentions here are peaceful and scientific.
Yes, the Federation propaganda. I know it well. We will be there in moments. Stay out of our way. And the view screen goes dark.
Well, he seemed nice.
Oh, grumpy.
Shall we go to yellow alert? Do we perceive this as a threat?
No, I don't think.
I don't think yet.
Okay.
They're arriving. We know that they're arriving. They responded to our hail. Yeah, they're, dicks, but
That's fair.
yeah.
Do we continue on our current course of action trying to figure out what the heck this thing is?
Yeah, and we'll just, keep an eye out on the sensors for the arrival of that bird of prey.
So as you guys wait, a few moments later, the bird of prey comes close to you, passes you, and comes within close range, nose to nose, with the craft. At this point, Marcus, you notice on your sensor display that they are powering weapons.
Captain, they're arming weapons.
Well, bring us to yellow alert.
Okay, your shields come up. Your yellow alert goes on. They target and fire and destroy the probe that you fired.
That's,
I was about to say, that was a bold move if they're engaging the probe. Or engaging the big probe, not the little probe.
They have not raised shields, but as soon as they do that, as soon as they destroy the probe, their targeting sensors sweep over and lock on to you, but their weapons are at passive.
okay, so we're going to remain at yellow alert and again want to open a channel.
What is it that you want, Captain?
I believe that we may have similar goals in determining what the nature of this spacecraft is and what its intention is in this region of space. And surely by cooperating together, we can learn more than not cooperating.
Hey, I want you to make a roll.
Okay.
This is going to be a presence plus command task.
Okay.
Difficulty 3.
3. Starfleet protocols, do they apply here? Nope, diplomacy applies.
Diplomacy certainly applies.
Okay.
3 successes.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Under Tyneridea law, we will take any and all necessary measures to protect our planet from this threat. Our scientists have identified this thing from the previous incident, and we insist on destroying it. We welcome your help with that.
What incident are they referring to?
Are they referring to the incident on Earth?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This time it's kind of pointed at their system, which they're a little nervous about.
We should find out if they have any whales.
Yes.
So they know about the previous incident and that it only ended when whales could talk to the probe. So are there any whales on your planet?
We have cetacean species, of course, but the filthy Castorians fired several nuclear volleys into our oceans, and many of those species have been rendered extinct. We have no way of knowing if it even is looking for one of those species. It's one of the ones that has been wiped out by the terrorists, or whether or not it's the ones that can talk to. We're not going to take that chance.
With all due respect, how do you plan on destroying a ship this large?
We're going to beam aboard and examine it. Once we've looked at it, then we'll know how to destroy it.
Hell no. I mean, Don't hurt our whale friend.
At this point, we still don't know the probe's intention, if the probe would view an away team as a hostile act, and there's certainly
still have those things we're doing. How about you bluff them and tell them that we're definitely working on a way we can communicate if they would give us time, and if something goes awry, then they can start with their plan.
They don't want to communicate with it, though. They just want to destroy it.
Well, they just don't want to be destroyed by it.
That is the root of it, yeah.
Right. So if you can appeal to that, right?
Yeah, I mean, and frankly, not an irrational fear.
No, totally. But I mean, if they know how to communicate with it in the future, and they, obviously this happens once in a while, that doesn't mean that, I don't know.
This happens. These guys show up sometimes.
You have had whales? They just might show up. I don't know.
So as the Tyneridea commander is talking, and revealing his plans, I'm going to very briefly put him on mute. And Tyneridea, do we have any means of? Surely they would have to transport into the vessel.
Yes.
Would we have any means of preventing a transporter signal from penetrating this?
You're asking
vessel?
if we can jam their transporter signal.
Yes.
Is that something that we can do?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to disrupt transporter beams. Put all kinds of interference, radiation, particles out. Lots of things will do it, or make it at least much more difficult. It would be difficult to do from this distance.
And they might perceive that as they seem rather on edge. They might perceive that as an act of aggression.
It kind of is.
And how's the probe?
It is.
So our plan is to do this. Oh, we're just not going to let you do that. That's pretty aggressive.
Why are you attacking us? It's so rude.
Oh, we were just going to not use transporters. Sorry. That's awkward.
Timothy, what did you say? I didn't hear you.
How's the craft going to react to all this radiation being dumped right in front of it?
I'm sure it will love it. It'll get tingling sensation.
We could beam down with some jamming things.
Okay.
Transport inhibitors?
If we transport aboard, they'll be able to detect what we're doing.
Not if we do it faster.
In this case, crew, we know our intention, and the Tyneridea commander is still muted, still spouting his plan. We know our intention, which is to, better understand this phenomena and to establish contact with these aliens, it seems. And we know their intent, which is to kill them. And given that they do plan on sending an away team to examine the craft and likely in some way contact the aliens, it seems very important to me that we make contact with them first to establish our intentions.
We may have the benefit of having performed the scan and knowing where their life signs are. Is it possible that we can put an away team closer to the life signs than they'd be able without having to scan it?
You've done a lot of scans of it. You had that probe right there scanning away. So you know the interior of the ship pretty well. You can put an away team right next to the internal core where the life forms are.
So, two things. One, Kirid, like you put together an away team to establish contact with the alien.
Roger that.
Two, I believe Ithrasi, assuming that we do antagonize the Tyneridea, what is the tactical analysis of this bird of prey?
Tactical analysis of the bird of prey.
How do we stack up against it?
Well, that's a great question. Let me just double check something. Mm-hmm. So, I'm just looking up because you actually have pretty detailed information on them. Okay, so they have a full. They're a smaller ship than you are. The Excelsior is enormous. So you have a scale of 5. They have a scale of 3. They've got pretty good weapon systems. They're armed with disruptor cannons, photon torpedoes, obviously, the Klingon versions have a cloaking device. There's no evidence that the Tyneridea have access to a cloaking device. Generally, you have the advantage tactically if it came to a fight. Mm-hmm. But even surplus, military surplus Klingon birds of prey are nothing to laugh at.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So at the same time as Kirid prepares to head over to the ship, I would like Ithrasi and Marcus and the doctor, I suppose, to begin developing a coordinated plan to prevent the Klingons, prevent the Tyneridea from operating their transporter, and anticipating that this will antagonize them, a defensive plan to ensure that we don't get blown up.
Probably for the best.
Yeah.
Okay. Just FYI, you do have a PDF file in the Star Trek Adventures Google Drive with Klingon ships and their specifications. Peruse that at your leisure. Now, so you're asking them to figure out a plan to disrupt transport. Well, what's your guys' plan? Oh,
I don't know. I think the best for us to do is whoever goes down to that ship has jamming technology that they can place around. So,
I mean,
no.
I've thought about that. I mean, the ship is really large,
Mhm.
and what kind of handheld equipment would we have that could do that?
I mean, you've got transport inhibitors.
Mhm.
They'll help, but it's such a large ship. He's right. You can't prevent everyone.
I feel that if there's going to be a solution here, it's probably space-based rather than like disrupting transporters at their source rather than trying to disrupt them at their destination.
And
just to be clear, you still have this guy on hold.
Oh yeah.
The reality is we may want to let them transport on and just try and have my away team work faster than theirs, because starting aggression with the Tyneridans probably wouldn't look great for the relationship between the Castorians and Tyneridans in general.
Well, I think you should see if they'll wait. See if they'll give it an hour so we can try and figure out a solution to communicate and see what they want first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, try the stall tactic.
Yeah, stall, motherfucker.
Yeah, and I mean, if Rossi and I can still work on how do we prevent them the use of their transporter. So even if they get their people on, we can stop them from beaming their people back off. Hopefully, they don't want to just blow up the probe while their people are still on it.
Hopefully not. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin examining that plan. We're going to take the Tyneridea commander off of mute.
What are you? Why did you? You just left me waiting here? That is a serious lack of respect. Jazzo, if his face could hold a smile, would be smiling right now. He thought that was very funny.
You should just tell him that you thought you had unmuted it and you were talking to him this whole time, and so now you can tell him what you were saying.
I didn't see the little pink box in the corner with the speech bubble slashed out.
Yeah.
We seem to be experiencing some technical difficulties with our communication system. Our apologies.
Well, I want to get at it. I have a team ready to go.
We are currently conducting very sensitive sensor analysis of the interior of the ship, which we would be happy to share with you once it is complete. However, beaming your away team onto the ship is very likely to disrupt our progress towards better understanding this phenomenon. And if you would allow us a mere hour to finish our work, we would be happy to share the results. An hour.
You're going to need a presence plus command, a difficulty 4 task.
Oof.
Maybe spend
momentum. Yeah.
Want to spend a point of momentum for an extra dice, or 3 points for 2 extra dice?
Let's go 3.
Okay, you are out of momentum.
Okay, so presence plus command.
Diplomacy and how many is applicable.
And how many die?
So you get an additional 2, so 4 d20.
4 d20. Applicable focus, yes.
Oh, I see green. Yeah!
That is 3 successes.
That is 4.
4.
Oh, that is 4 successes.
Yeah, that's why I said yeah.
He slams his hand down on the console in front of him. Fine. You have 1 hour. At the end of that time, whether we have the information or not, we are beaming aboard and taking all steps to end this threat to my people. Lossag out.
Perhaps this might be a task for. I'm not sure this would be a task for, but I feel that someone should take this hour to doctor some sensor information that might dissuade the Tyneridea from attempting to board the ship.
Just send them what we have. That dissuaded me from wanting to board the ship.
Well, clearly they want to board it already. Maybe we could send them information indicating it's full of spike traps and anesthetizing gas.
It will be when we're done with it. Another problem that might arise from this is we're going to be going against what you said. We're going to be beaming people onto the ship. I don't know how they're going to perceive that.
Is there any way for us to mask our transporter signal?
David speaks up over the comm. He's like, "We can try, sir. There are several ways to do that, and I know about, there are about 12 ways to do that, and I know 6. So we can try them. It's going to be very difficult, and we're going to need closer."
Very well.
We can approach on the guise of doing more scanning,
especially since they destroyed our probe.
Yeah, that was somewhat inconvenient for scanning purposes.
All right, so let's can we idly kind of go through the motions of making it look like we're intently scanning the ship?
Well, David says that if you get close, he can start doing really targeted heavy scans on the ship, and he can try to piggyback a transporter beam on one of those scans to get you inside without them realizing it, but it's super difficult.
Fun.
Let's do it. So
get in position.
And I need to assemble an away team because it's going to be me. Who else would you suggest I take?
Commander of the away team typically chooses his complement.
Fantastic. You need a Thrasi on board, so I'm thinking I'd take Xandra as essentially for security and protection. I'm thinking that it might be helpful to bring the doctor as an expert in physiology. Might be helpful, but yeah, that's I'm a science officer, but I don't have that sort of physiological aspect.
So right now we have Xandra, Bassa, and Kirid. Anybody else?
I feel that it would be important for you to bring along Falk, given that the only demonstrated communication with whales is through mind meld.
That seems like a good plan.
Okay, so Bassa will play Bassa, Kirid will play Kirid. Who is going to play Xandra?
I can play Xandra.
Okay, and who's going to play Falk? I guess that's Tim.
Yeah.
Because you're the only one left.
That's right.
Okay. So you have your away crew. You can head down to the transporter pad and get ready. You're armed with Type 2 phasers and tricorders.
If possible, could we bring like a breathing apparatus, something to allow us to breathe underwater? If these are cetaceous creatures, water may still be a part of their biology.
Yes, you certainly can. If you allow me to add one threat, you can have access to a breathing apparatus.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that as well.
So your threat has gone up to 4, and you have aquatic breathing apparatus, should you.
Perfect.
So who's all going away?
Xandra, Bassa, Kirid, and Falk.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
All right.
So transporter pad to transporter pad is a 0-level transport. Transporter pad to a site without a transporter pad is a 1 difficulty, and no transporter pads is a difficulty 2. This is going to be a difficulty 1 regular transport. In order to hide it, it's going to be a difficulty 4 task.
Can command captain, can you rally us and get some momentum going for us?
I feel
Be inspired.
Speech.
I'm gonna
Speech.
so I'm gonna retcon my earlier statement about our intentions and their intentions and needing to establish peaceful contact first, and you're going to be very, very inspired by it.
That is a presence plus command task.
Okay. 20. Applicable focus, I would say yes, Starfleet Protocol.
Sure. I'll allow it.
Sure. Science. We're doing it.
That is 1 success, giving you 1 momentum.
Great. You're very
What are
inspired.
some other things that can momentum us up?
Not your most inspiring speech, Captain, but
Yeah.
I feel good.
He just repeats the same things he just said. And again.
Use the
And
word
again.
science less.
Yeah.
Thank you for your critiques. Now get the fuck off of my ship. All right. So you guys are ready to go. Who wants to roll for David Humphreys? Now, David, since he's operating from the engineering bay, technically gets a +1 for any engineering tasks, but I don't know if this... Yeah, I'm going to say this qualifies because of the trying to hide the beam in the sensor suite. So I'll allow this to be dropped to a difficulty 3 task.
Okay. What is it?
Oh, it is a daring plus engineering task.
Can he use his espionage skill?
Absolutely.
Focus.
Focus, dude.
Tim, are you rolling that?
Yes, I am. I'm working
That's
on
what
it.
I thought. I just wanted to make sure.
Are we spending our point of momentum?
Yes.
For an additional dice?
Yes.
Okay.
And we have a focus.
We do. Good thing he's
Go,
so
Mr.
sneaky.
Humphrey.
That is 1 success. The Bonaventure can assist with a sensors plus security task. That's 2 more successes. That's a total of 3.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, you beam over, and while you're doing vigorous scans, as you guys beam over, I do need Zik to make a roll on the research. The first point is yes. Oh wait, you don't even have momentum to spend, so you're not going to have anything in an hour. It'll be 2 hours.
Nope.
Shit.
Never mind.
Come on, Zick.
Does Zick still have to roll, though?
Not yet. Has to be a full period of time
Oh, gotcha.
before I tell you whether or not any of them were right.
All right. Well, let's see if we can figure this out on board the ship.
Okay, so you beam over to the ship. When you look around after materializing, you are in a giant cavernous space that is dimly lit with yellowish light. On the very core of the ship, next to where you have been beamed, you see a huge spherical glass structure with blackish gray bulkheads kind of going around it. And inside this space, this is where the light source is coming, this yellowish light and kind of yellowish liquid inside. Inside that, you do see huge dark shapes slowly moving around that are vaguely whale-like. But it is so big and dimly lit that you can't actually see any walls beyond what you're standing next to. There are kind of huge panels and interfaces and different things all around for you to examine, however.
Well, let's begin by examining where we are.
Okay. So what kind of things are you looking for?
I just am looking for any indication of technology that we recognize and could interface with.
Okay.
You should empath stuff.
Yes, I would like to empath things. Is that something? Because that's something that just happens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you take a moment to concentrate on your empathic abilities, and you do get a sense that the beings that are in this huge spherical aquatic environment are slowly awakening. So you're not getting a lot of emotions from them yet. It's equivalent to coming out of the deepest parts of sleep.
Okay. Yeah. The creatures in this seem to be waking up after a long and deep sleep. I'm not getting too much out of them, but they will be awake soon.
Okay.
So let's continue our search. So we're surrounded by panels and other spaceshipy things. Let's look at those.
Look at the spaceshipy things. So yeah, what kind? So you're trying to find a way to interface with technology. Sandra, what are you doing right
now? Xandra is trying just to observe her surroundings, taking it all in. She's not feeling particularly threatened at this moment, but she's definitely on alert.
All right. Falk, what are you doing right now? You just saw. I could read
that
his lips.
moment
He's just
of realization.
Talking, then he just stops. Oh crap! I'm muted.
Falk is going to whip out her tricorder and scan the spaceshipy things like she's been ordered to.
Okay. And Dr. Basso, what are you doing?
I'm gonna be scanning the whale creatures.
Okay.
For biological information and things like that.
So Kieran and Falk are probably taking point on trying to find a way to interface with this technology. Who wants to make that role?
Well, I think Falk is more suited to this sort of. She's better with computers than Kieran is.
Okay. So Falk can make this roll, and Kieran can roll a single dice to assist. Falk, this is going to be a insight plus science roll, or insight plus engineering roll.
Okay.
Oh no, I don't get a focus here.
Difficulty 2, by the way. So yeah, those that's a success from Falk and a success from the assist from Kieran, and so you do find a means to interface with this technology, and you can bring up information through the panel working with your tricorder. You've set up a successful interface. Now, Dr. Bassa, you're doing some scans with your medical tricorder. on this big spherical area, trying to get some information about the creatures you're dealing with.
Yep.
Why don't you make a insight plus medicine check?
Okay. I'm going to say that as a joined trail that one of my previous hosts was a biologist, and so I definitely have a focus in this type of work.
Of course.
Yeah, well, you know how that happens. So medicine. Yes.
Oh, that's 3 successes. Yeah, difficulty 2 task, so you do generate 1 point of momentum.
Excellent.
And the information you get is you can ask 1 question about what you're seeing, and any additional questions cost 1 momentum.
Okay. Question I have is, are their brains significantly larger than the whales that we have on Earth? Is that a significant difference?
Yeah, the mass of their brains and nervous and the complexity of their nervous systems is quite high. These creatures, based on this physiology, are likely quite intelligent as a species. If you have any other questions, we need to either spend momentum or add threat.
Well, I do have that 1 momentum. Anything you guys can think of that I should ask? I kind of want to know how these creatures interface with the ship itself.
Okay. Would you like to spend momentum to ask that question?
Yes.
I think that's worthwhile.
Okay. As near as you can tell, there's some kind of relationship between the sounds the creatures make and the fluid that they're in, which is not all water.
Right.
It's an advanced fluid that has all kinds of strange chemicals and technology into it. But it interfaces with that to provide commands to the ship. So they don't actually have to leave that aquatic environment to control all other aspects of the ship.
Yeah. So I relay that message. It's through the sounds in the liquid that they're in that they're able to control the ship. So I imagine as they awaken, things will ring to life a bit more as you look around.
This globe sphere that they're in, what is it suspended by?
It's attached to both the floor that you're standing on, and it goes up into the roof. It's enormous, but it is not kind of floating there or anything. It is rigidly set into the structure of the ship.
Okay. So I'm going to Falk, will you keep collecting information that you can gather from the computer? Specifically, look for code, language, anything that we can recognize and use to communicate. I'd like to get closer to these creatures to see if I can sense anything coming off of them.
Yeah, Falk can make an insight plus engineering test to find out more information from this interface.
Insight.
Difficulty 1 task.
Engineering.
You already have established this.
2. No.
You are not successful at gaining any new information.
All right. Well,
we can put a breathing apparatus on Falk and drop them in the liquid.
That's
Go mind meld.
Wise.
Go do your vulcaning.
Xandra, you're on guard duty. Keep your eye out for anything that could be threatening to us. Doctor, would you accompany me as we get closer to this tank?
Absolutely.
So you guys walk up to the tank, and you feel incredibly small. I mean, this thing is probably kilometers tall and wide, just this this internal sphere. As you walk up to it, you're just specks next to this giant glowing yellowish sphere. What are you trying to do?
I don't know, but as I approach, I reach out like I'm in awe, and so I touch the glass like I'm just blown away by this sight and this overwhelming smallness that I feel, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the glass is slightly cooler in temperature to the temperature of the air, and it is very solid.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably not glass, come to think of it. Like, it's probably
but it's transparent
aluminum or something.
I like it. My goal with this is to get as close as I can to these creatures and just begin feeling out emotions and trying to essentially get anything that I can using these extra senses that I have.
Okay. So you get up close and you really try to open yourself to any kind of sensory information that's coming at you. I'm going to let you make a presence plus command task. See if you glean any.
Cool.
Now you're empathic and not telepathic, right?
I'm only empathic.
Okay.
I'm guessing that a away team specialist wouldn't really matter here.
No.
And these aren't plants.
Yeah, I mean, you do gain a point of momentum. It's only a difficulty 1 task. You do get the sense that these creatures are desperately looking for something, and you do get the sense that travel is traumatic for them.
That's not incredibly surprising.
So waking up, all of this stuff is uncovering uncomfortable feelings. Like, you're kind of getting a little bit of distress from them. Not necessarily fear, but it's just uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. I'd like to make a report to the captain what we found thus far.
Okay.
Captain, this is Commander Hex reporting from the away team.
Go ahead.
We've made it to the inside of the vessel. Specifically, we're standing in a great cavernous space, in the middle of which is a globe, a sphere full of liquid, and inside are whale-like creatures. They seem to be dormant, and they're just waking up. They seem to be waking up now. I can sense some emotions coming off of them, almost distress, like they're looking for something, and they don't necessarily like travel, which doesn't surprise me since they live what looks like in a fish tank. Fok is interfacing with their computer system and trying to get information, though that's been hard to come by. What are your orders? They seem to be waking up very slowly, and I don't think there's any way we can communicate with them until they're fully awake and conscious. I don't know how long that's going to take.
Oh. Continue to try and gather as much information as you can, or if not directly communicate, indirectly, somehow communicating our intent. But we still have time from the Tyneridea, and I'd like to use that time to understand the species and the ship better.
Understood. So, Quinn, they seem to be waking up.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a hours long wake up or a minutes long? Or I know this is very difficult to tell. Yeah, that's what I thought. Captain, I don't think that these creatures are going to be awake and communicative within the hour timeline the Tyneridians have given us.
And what can you learn about the ship itself?
We'll take a look and we'll get back to you.
Very well.
All right. Doctor, if you can keep an eye on these species.
I don't know if I can take my eyes off of them.
That's fair. I know what you mean. Xandra, Vok, and I will investigate the ship further, see if we can get any more information about its technical specifications or anything else that might be useful.
Very well.
All right, so Vok, show me how you interface into the system again. I'll see if I can figure anything out.
All right. We'll try this again, sir.
You guys start going through the process. Who's going to make the roll and who's going to assist?
This is an insight plus science.
Engineering.
Insight. Oh, insight plus engineering. I'm good at insight. I'm awful at engineering.
It's fair insight. Kind of okay with engineering.
Perfect. You go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
Ever the teacher, Kieran. He's like, no, you show me and I'll help you out along. Not that you're better at it than I am. I just want to see if you know.
No, you're absolutely better at it than I am. I hate computers.
Ooh.
Oh no.
You do have a complication on the board.
Yikes.
That's 2 successes, but 1 complication. What this means is that you do achieve a second point of momentum, because it's only a difficulty 1 task. Would you like to spend 2 momentum, which is all the momentum you have, to take the complication off the board?
Sure, let's do that.
I think having a complication interfacing with an alien computer system
Probably
could be really bad.
Yeah. It now identifies you as hostile.
Prepare
you
to
now
die.
have a virus.
All right, so what you do get is you can ask any question you want with that roll to the computer system.
Okay, team. What sort of information would be the most beneficial for our mission of actually establishing contact?
What are they looking for? I mean, that'd be my question. What's their mission?
Where are they actually headed to, right? Yeah. If they're headed to a place where there's whales and trying to talk to whales that aren't there, it's not going to be a rude awakening, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because in history, the ship was coming and looking for whales. It makes me think they're coming and looking for whales of some kind, lost kin, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, where it's going, is that
where and who it's going to see, right?
What is the purpose
of
its travels?
So,
I mean,
what's the question? And you guys need to choose now, or I'm going to add a point of threat.
What is the purpose of the ship's travels?
Okay. The purpose of the ship's travels is to travel. You do pull up a astro chart, and it does clearly say that it is going to enter the binary system and go to Tyneridea.
All right.
Any further questions require momentum, of which you have none.
Can I be inspiring?
You can ask further questions by incurring threat. You already have 4 threat.
Oh, the threat hasn't done anything bad to this point.
Don't poke the bear.
I'm going to ask 100 questions. Okay, that's the fact that it's going to Tyneridea is at least for our mission, is helpful, but we still should try and do something about it. Is there any other questions you could think that'd be pertinent to ask?
Well, I'd want to know what they're doing when they get there, right? Who they're trying to see, what whales they're trying to see, because
Are
if
these
they
questions
exist,
the
that might be
computer-
easy.
Are these questions a computer could answer, though?
I'm sure there's some sort of record of like, go find this thing,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
That's fair. Okay. What are they looking for on Tyneridea?
You're adding threat.
Yes.
Okay. 5 threat. What are they looking for on Tyneridea? What you get is a vague mission brief. It's hard to tell because their language is so strange. Their written language is more easily to piece together because it kind of has a lot of math and stuff that you can translate than their spoken language. The closest you can come to it without being able to actually communicate with these people is they're looking for an outpost or a colony. It's closest you can figure.
But a place rather than a thing.
You're not sure. Outpost or a colony is both a place and a group of people.
Mm-hmm. Fair. Okay. I think that's all the questions that I want to ask of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, Captain. We've discerned that the ship is on course for Tyneridea, and that it's looking for an outpost or a colony, something to that nature. We can't quite translate it correctly.
Hmm.
Also, Falk, did you essentially copy all that writing?
Yeah,
Yes.
you've downloaded all that information.
Phenomenal. Because it's more the having the language, having a copy of the written language to work on.
Yeah, you probably have other files and stuff. You just have no idea what they are yet.
Perfect. Yeah. So I like. What are your orders, Captain?
Do you feel that you've accomplished all you can there right now, given the current situation?
Given the time frame, I feel like there's nothing more we can get from the community. We pushed it as is. If we had unlimited time, we could remain here until these creatures awaken, and then attempt to communicate directly with them.
Well, let's return you to the ship. Learned all we can, and work out a plan for protecting these aliens against the really imminent threat.
Understood. Commander carried out.
So in order to hide on the way back, you're going to have to do the same thing, which is a difficulty 3 task that David is going to have to run. You have no momentum to spend.
Could I be, as a commanding officer, could I be inspiring? Give a rallying speech? Is that something? I mean,
yeah, on the way team, but you in theory could. Let me just double check. No,
yeah,
it specifically says CO, so whoever's in command at that
Okay.
moment, which right now is the captain.
Okay.
If you were like
You
separated
just
from the
ignored
ship,
him and said, "Yeah."
Captain, take a quick nap. And don't ask me why. Just do it. All right.
so who's gonna roll for David?
Someone else can do it.
I'd say Tim's the perfect candidate. Marcus and David have the best working relationship.
Yeah. All right. So this was
You
daring
have
and
no
engineering.
sound.
Daring and engineering. Yeah.
Do I not have any?
Oh, you were just really quiet on mine. Maybe I
Yeah,
accidentally
I was-
turned down your volume.
I was kind of muttering.
No way. Weird.
Engineering. 2.
Three successes. David is a
Way to go,
transporter
David.
phenom.
Wow.
Now a sensors plus engineering task for the Bonaventure, which is its strongest thing, or almost strongest thing. And that's an additional success, so you have 1 point of momentum garnered from that roll, and you guys beam aboard the Bonaventure with the immeasurable being none the wiser.
Sneaky.
With these very focused sensor scans that he was doing, were we getting any information from those, like hull thickness or?
You can do that, but he hasn't been actually looking for information. He's been doing his best to look like he's looking for information in a way that's going to mask transporter beams.
Yeah, I kind of figured, but just like, are we getting any information from this? Because this is pretty cool. No. All right.
From the point of view of the immeasurable, it looks like you're doing intense scans and like occasionally stopping somewhere and really focusing on that area and all kinds of stuff. But what the immeasurable doesn't know is that after demanding that they don't transport aboard, you guys sent an away team, wandered around a bit, interfaced with the controls, and came back. Now, one impression that I want to leave you with the information and the technology that you saw is one of vast power and advancement. The engines that would be required, and you didn't see any obvious warp coils or anything like that, but the engines that would be required to move a ship of this mass at nearly transwarp speeds is incalculable in power. That kind of technology could, in the wrong hands, upset the balance of power in the entire quadrant. Further, you know that 100 years ago, a probe nearly destroyed the Earth. This is a crude CREWED ship. And so even if it doesn't have traditional weapon systems, the power it can bring to bear as a weapons platform is equally unfathomable. Now, extrapolating from that, the information and technology that must be present on that ship could probably change all kinds of scientific theories, advance medicine. Who knows what advancements are just sitting there right now?
And we went on board and stole it.
You looked around.
We also downloaded a bunch of stuff.
We downloaded information.
Yep.
Yeah.
So after reporting all this back to the captain is left with the really sincere conviction that it is important that the technology on this ship not fall into the hands of antagonists or our allies and disrupt the balance of power. Regardless, it's important that the technology on the ship stays on the ship and that its secrets stay on the ship.
This is definitely Prime Directive territory.
Mm-hmm.
So now that the away team is back and with the information that we have, I think preventing the Tyneridea transport is even more important. And as well, we did promise them a copy of the data.
Yes, you did.
something we can do is we have a lot of information on the ship that we could send them genuine information. We could also highlight the overwhelming scope of power and terror that the ship could bring to bear in an attempt to scare them off.
Would it be
Risky.
possible to and I don't know who among the 400 officers and crew is the programmer, but to piggyback some kind of virus to interfere with the bird of prey systems when we send over that information. We're like sending them an exe file over email, and we can put whatever we want into it. Is how I'm feeling. And being like, you should definitely open this.
I mean, all of this is it would delay their transporting over, but it wouldn't permanently solve the problem of them wanting to transport over. The only permanent solution is to convince them to go away or to scare them off or destroy them.
Yeah.
David will say, like, Captain, it's an uncharacteristically aggressive maneuver for you, but you want that job done. I'm your man.
Well,
so as soon as Celis heard that David thinks it's a good idea, now he's given pause.
It is aggressive, and that's not something I'm used to seeing from the captain, which is cool.
But we don't know what they would do, right? And
no,
I think the power thing, you talking about how dangerous they are and how powerful, I think that might be dangling a carrot too. Like that might go the
absolutely
way with them.
And this is also a prime directive task.
Mm-hmm.
So senior staff, in considering that option, I'd like other options for, in the immediate term, preventing them from boarding the ship or learning any more than they already know about it. And in the kind of medium long term, how we can either establish communications or scare them away or come up with some kind of solution. But right now, they are bent on going over there with hostile intent, and it's really important that we not allow that to happen. So we can send them an exe file.
As you're speaking, you're being hailed from the...
We're going to let that ring a couple times. Kieran, I'm going to instruct the senior staff to, or Kieran and Ithrasi, and whoever else they feel is appropriate, to head to the ready room to discuss coming up with a plan, and the captain is going to talk to the Tyneridea captain.
Okay.
So you're being shuffled away, and we're going to answer that call.
Okay. The screen comes up, and it is what's his name? General Vloseg.
That's it.
Captain, it is not yet time, but I was wondering as to your progress. Report!
Well, we're continuing our scans and learning more about this ship. It seems very complex and very formidable. We're worried about upsetting the creatures inside and having us all destroyed. So we're being very cautious.
At this point, he mutes you. And you see the cloaked figure behind him lean in, and obviously is speaking with him. And then leans back and he unmutes you again. Go on.
And it is just very important that we both
He mutes you again.
proceed.
This time he's not even making a show of it. He's just sitting there. Then he unmutes you. Carry on.
So, as the captain and General Volsag go back and forth playing the mute game, can we cut to Kirid and the others on the senior staffing coming up with a plan right the heck now?
Hey, just before you cut, he does say, "Captain, I know you're hiding." Then we change scenes. Changing a scene costs a momentum. You're down to 0. All right, so you're in the ready room without the captain. He's busy.
Maybe we tell them the best place to transport down and set up a force field around that area so they beam right into an area where they can't get anywhere and far away.
And fill it with gas, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then anesthetize them.
In a ship of this size, there must be a place that they could beam that would do them no good.
Right. Well, exactly. If we give them information to go further away and then make roadblocks so they can't get other places, right?
On the other hand, we know so little about the ship's layout. We don't even know what spot would be.
Well, we know but the furthest
dangerous
spot away from where we were.
True, but you might end up sending them to the warp core.
In this hour, oh darn! In this hour, have they been doing their own scans and taking their own measurements? Yeah,
absolutely.
That's so. I mean, our ability to deceive them.
Yeah, that's true.
Unknown because we don't know what they know.
That's true.
And anything we do that is a lie or is even minorly aggressive, like they're going to take as an aggression. And at that point, I mean, do we, raise shields and threaten them away? I mean, but let's keep them from coming back. We can't guard this thing.
Pause there. We're going back to the bridge. I know I haven't been completely honest with the captain. Have you?
We are still completing our scans, still compiling the knowledge. We're gathering up the information to share with you in something called a .exe file, which we will be sending over shortly.
I look forward to it. At this point on your bridge, you hear, "Captain, there are 2 ships coming in, high warp on long-range sensors."
Ah, they called their friends.
No, Captain. They can be identified as Orion Wanderer class starships.
Motherfucker.
Christ.
Back to the ready room.
Well, we don't know about the Orions, do we?
No.
That kind of would dictate a lot of our decision-making process.
I'm just going to assume the role of a minor character asking a question here.
Okay.
Assuming that could the Bonaventure take a position between the vessel and the bird of prey in such a way that it would, just by virtue of its presence, block a transporter signal? And
not by virtue of the presence. However, if you get in between, like currently you're kind of both side by side pointed at the thing. If you move and get in between, that does send a pretty clear message.
Yeah, like at what point do we just want to, start hostilities? Because we're doing all sorts of things, that are quasi hostile. Or if they figure out what we're doing, it is hostile what we're doing.
I feel like the key is we got to get rid of the ship. Like they're not going anywhere unless we do something about the ship. If we can figure out some way to get the ship to just go on its way.
As we could get the ship to go on its way, that would be preferable. If it's, and I'm pretty sure I know the pecking order, but we have a directive to explore and keep the peace, but we also have a prime directive, which I think supersedes that.
Could we convince them that it's actually going to Castoria and not Tyneridea?
Until it shows up on their doorstep.
Yeah, I mean, right now, the situation that you're facing is that you have an impossibly powerful ship in front of you. You have two Orion Wanderer-class starships coming in hot with unknown desires.
Oh, I think we know their desires.
You have a Tyneridea bird of prey sitting there, who has expressed a want to destroy this. And you do know for a fact that this ship is on its way to Tyneridea. So if it's hostile, even though the Tyneridea are your enemies, you know that it's going to be bad news bears for Tyneridea.
This is assuming they can't dismantle or carry away some piece of technology in the here and now that will provide them with some sort of advantage.
Yeah, and if you're talking upsetting the balance in the quadrant, what's going to happen if the Tyneridea suddenly get a giant leap in technology?
Mm-hmm.
The only thing holding hostilities off between them and Castoria has been historically the Orions, and currently you.
Oh.
Back on the bridge, you're being hailed from the incoming ships.
On screen?
Captain, welcome. I am Ozarkzo. You see an Orion man. He's big, rotund. He's covered in rings and piercings and necklaces. His green skin glistening with sweat and oils of unknown types. He's leaning back in a rather more luxurious chair than is necessary for the bridge of a starship. He's got a big grin on his face, but he kind of looks a little ill. There is an incredibly gorgeous Orion woman at his shoulder, who could be described as physically perfect. Orion women, of course, are renowned for their beauty, but Ozarkzo is grinning and with his bare chest, clearly in view of the view screen, and he goes, "Captain, welcome. I am Ozarkzo. I'm commanding this expedition from the bridge of the starship Bintek. My companionship is the Bizrak. We are taking command of this salvage operation under Orion's salvage rights."
This ship is crewed and WED, and as we know, Orion salvage rights only apply to derelict vessels, as is clear in the Orion Code.
I think that I will be the judge of Orion law in this sector. Of course, we'll be there quite soon to make our own estimate whether or not this vessel is worthy of salvage. You suddenly do get a sensor reading that you're informed of that the immeasurable is scanning the 2 incoming ships, which suggests that they're surprised that they're here.
What if we beam a ghetto blaster into the area and play a bunch of whale songs right by them? Will that wake them up more? I don't know. I feel like we have to do something. Like, hey, there's a bunch of people here that want to ruin everything that's good about your lives.
It seems like we need to buy them time to wake up, because once they're awake, I'm sure they'll be able to head off themselves.
Absolutely.
They are. We do know that they're incredibly powerful beings. Like they steamrolled Starfleet 50 years ago. So once they're awake, it's surely fine.
Is there a way that we could shield their vessel or get their shields up from within?
Do they have shields?
They have something.
Well, they don't have. If they have shields, they're not up right now because you're able to beam on board.
Yeah.
Because right now, to me, that's the only danger to this ship is people beaming on board.
Yeah.
And stealing their technology.
Should have put up shields when we were down there.
So Ozarkzo says, "Well, Captain, are you ready to acquiesce to my clear legal authority?"
At this point, the captain starts talking about our clear legal authority to be engaged in a scientific expedition of our own.
You, Captain, can do all the science you want. Just stay out of the way of our salvage op. I trust we won't have any problems.
You can salvage when we're done doing science. It should be a few weeks.
It's... At this point, I don't feel like there's anything left to say. So probably just cut off that transmission and call for the crew back.
All right. So you're all called to the bridge.
We got nothing.
Thank you, Marcus, for putting it so delicately. We were unable to come up with an adequate solution for this problem other than simple use of force.
I think...
Do you want to tell us about the Orions? Because we have no idea about that, and we think there's only one problem.
There are 2 Orion Wanderer class starships that are intent on salvaging this probe.
Force seems to be a valid option at the moment.
Yes, Doctor. No.
Can we turn the Tyneridea against the Orions and have them fight it out for a while to buy them some time?
Historically, weren't they allied?
I thought they were customers.
Tyneridea are a client state of the Orion Syndicate. So they're technically an independent planet, but the Orions have traditionally had a great deal of influence on their government and economy and whatever. It was the Orions that forcibly ended the Storian-Tyneredean War. And the current administration of the Tyneridea government is decidedly pro-Orion.
So in other words, we're not likely to gain an ally in this fight. We would be gaining an enemy.
It's tough to say. The political situation on Tyneridea is very complex, as Jazzo will explain to you. The last administration was decidedly pro-independence, and this most recent election saw a majority pro-Orion coalition be elected, but it was a election night surprise. Everyone assumed the pro-unity group would win, and on the last second, the pro-Orion group won. And there, of course, has been accusations since then of Orion collusion in the election process and whatnot.
It seems to me, kind of taking in what the commander has said, that if we want to buy time, there's going to need to be kind of an escalation to this situation, and whether or not it escalates into hostilities is one thing, but it will be escalating one way or another. So I think that we should take measures that will escalate the situation, but to the minimal extent possible.
Like what?
In the very immediate term, positioning our ship between the probe and the bird of prey, and Kirid perhaps coming up with a plan to create some kind of dispersion field around the craft to make it difficult for transporter signals to get through.
Okay.
I think something with warp bubbles and maybe a tachyon particle.
Lovely.
Would be just one tachyon particle, though.
Just one, but like a big one.
Yeah, like one that spreads around the whole ship.
Yeah.
So Marcus can easily take you into that position, which will send a pretty clear message. At that point, you can ask Kirid to make a dispersion. I think this is
a job for David Humphreys.
So,
as the transporter expert, I'm pretty sure he'd be the one to jam transporter signals.
Fun fact, he's not a transporter expert.
Oh.
He's just an awesome engineer.
Well, Kirid has no engineering skill whatsoever. That's not his specialty.
How long, if we're thinking about minimal escalations, would it take to develop a, thinking about the systems on an old D12 class bird of prey, to develop a quick and sloppy computer virus to send immediately in the here and now to disable some systems on their ship before escalating to positioning?
Before you take that step, you've not talked with the bird of prey about the approaching Orions. The indication we've gotten from them is that they're not expecting the Orions there. Might it be valuable to get their opinion on what the Orions are doing before escalating against them?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, oh, your masters? Are they the ones that are in charge here? They're coming, so I guess you're headed off?
Oh, wow.
Bird.
Agnes.
Let's put her on the comm.
All right, so step one, let's hail that bird of prey.
All right. So the bird of prey, a decidedly annoyed-looking General Vlaseg comes back into view. Captain?
Do you have any insight into the arrival of our Orion friends?
He looks around furtively and he says, I don't keep track of every Orion starship in the sector.
You realize what what would be likely to occur to the Tyneridea if the Orions were to gain the technology on that ship for themselves.
Is why we should destroy it before they're here. Let us join together and strike down this threat. You value life? Now's the time.
This might end up being a presence plus command thing, but I really want to impress upon General Volsag that this is an extremely powerful ship, and even if he wants to destroy it, it will surely take longer than the 5 minutes we have before the Orions show up, and that it's very important that we address the Orions first, because completing our goals or completing their goals is going to take longer than either of us have.
Okay, make a command plus present, or a presence plus command test, and this difficulty 3 task.
Okay.
You have no momentum.
Presence plus command.
Diplomacy, of course, does apply.
Okay.
2 successes. Captain, I'm sorry. I've waited for long enough. I don't necessarily know why the Orions are coming, but you knew them like I knew them. You know, now's the time to act.
So we're going to put Volsag on mute, and I'm going to order...
He's just like, what the fuck? Just see his hands flailing and just yelling.
Lieutenant Commander Barton, if you could position us between the bird of prey and the probe immediately, as we unmute the general.
I would put shields up after muting the general.
We're at yellow alert.
Yeah, the yellow alert. The shields are currently up.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you start moving into position as you unmute. He's just like, what do you keep doing that for?
We're having issues with our communication system. It's a whole thing.
I know you've been hiding things, and now you're taking aggressive posture. You know what? Shields up! His shields come up. His weapons come up. I'll not let this destroy my people.
And you're going to let us fight it out as the Orions strip that ship of all its valuable components and technology.
No, I am going to give you until they show up to surrender. Get out of here. And then he goes blank. At this point, the sensors, the medium-range sensors on the Orions show that they've raised their shields and powered their weapons, and they're coming in even faster.
Can we extend our shields around the other craft?
It's just way too big.
It's way too big.
That's what I thought.
Like, you could do that, possibly stretching it over another ship your size, or like a smaller ship, but this is 85 kilometers long.
I know.
Is there any evidence as to, are the Orions bearing down on the probe? Are they bearing down on us? Are they bearing down on the bird of prey?
They're heading for the probe, but like, you're between now, you're going to kind of be between them, the probe, and all 3 of these ships.
Would it be possible to go on board and bring these whales some coffee and get them awake faster?
Falk can mind meld with them.
Falk would have to enter that aquatic environment.
We don't even know where the entrance is.
Could we beam Falk in?
Right into the environment.
Yeah, just with the breathing apparatus.
Why not?
Right?
Yeah, put the breathing apparatus on her. Beam her right in.
Yeah.
She's a minor character. What do we have to lose?
really gets.
Desperate times.
Because them waking up solves.
Well, I know they need to wake up and help themselves.
Yes.
Yes, they do.
Them waking up is the answer, but
Just as the Wanderer-class starships are about to arrive, you hear on the bridge, "Commander, long-range sensors. Another bird of prey is coming in hot."
Motherfucker.
Yes, this is
we
a
need
party.
to do something now. We can't just sit here and talk. We have to send someone
Falk
now.
over. Send Falk over.
All right,
It's our
so
only
we're
hope.
gonna order Falk down to the transporter room, and
We have to put our shields
Breathing
down to
apparatus.
do this.
You do have to lower shields in order to beam over. And it's going to be basically impossible at this point to hide the fact that you're beaming someone over.
With the time that we require, I argue we may not need to hide it.
I don't think we need to hide it at this point.
No.
Mm-hmm.
We've assumed a hostile stance towards this bird of prey.
Defensive stance.
Defensive, but it might be time to level with the general and be like, look, this is what we've done. And just because what do we have to lose? Because, I mean, we're going to go into combat, like ship-to-ship combat. If we're trying to avoid that at all costs, it might be worth doing everything to avoid it.
With the Orions arriving, I'm adding 2 threat to the scene, bringing the threat up to 7.
Gotta do it.
It's
time to go.
If we level with him, I feel like he'll only be more motivated to want to destroy and gain technology from the ship.
Then nothing will have changed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're being hailed from the other bird of prey.
On screen.
Just preemptively mute him. Don't even worry about it.
You see the blue-black skin and the stern, cold visage of General Zimpek. This is the Tyneridea commander of the Fathomless and the person who towed the Bonaventure into Castoria during the first episode.
Perfect.
And who you all suspected being behind the sabotage of the Bonaventure. Captain.
General Zimpek.
It is great to see you again.
It is great to see you as well.
It seems like you've got yourself into another sticky situation.
At this point, leveling with Zimpek, the ship is immensely powerful. It's full of incredibly advanced and unknown technology, and really trying to emphasize that the Orions are using all the time that we're talking to steal all of its secrets for themselves.
That is not preferable.
May
I suggest, Federation, that we look for a diplomatic solution before people start dying.
What do you propose?
A summit. You as host.
Very well.
Of course, I cannot extend such an invitation, but I'll be there shortly. Zimpek, out.
I just love how he said the word summit.
Why?
It was awesome. I mean, if politically in the current modern world, if people invited other political leaders to a summit, I think they'd come.
I do enjoy Zimpek's voice. I gave a lot of thought to it before we started the campaign because I knew you guys would see him many times. And I do enjoy his voice.
Same.
Mm.
So are we inviting the Orions to this summit, or is this like a...
Yeah, it's a whole meal deal summit.
All right,
And-
let's do it. Let's summit this.
So, broadcasting to everyone and requesting this summit, acknowledging that that we all have competing interests here, and that, like General Zimpak said, it's very important that we sort this out and have a long, preferably hours-long chat about the situation.
Don't say that.
So tell me exactly what the message is you're sending.
The message is that the message is just that we are in a situation with competing interests, and that it's very important that we meet to discuss our interests and reaching a mutually satisfactory conclusion without miscalculation that could end in lives lost.
I'm not going to make you roll that. Ozarkzo agrees, and he says that he and 2 assistants will beam aboard right away. Zimpek, when you give this, acts surprised, and then says, "Of course, I will agree to the Federation's endless blather. We will be coming aboard by shuttle."
Very well.
Good man. Buy us that time. Oh, see, this I like him.
Yeah.
I think we should switch sides and be allies with Zimpak.
All right, at this point, we should call it for the night.
Before the summit.
For the summit. The summit that they're surely going